Hello everybody, this is Zach Kiesling with Kiesling Films. Today I'm joined by Cristopher Cox, or known as CAcox97 on YouTube. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, let's get into it. So, what made you want to start becoming a YouTuber and a filmmaker in the first place?
Well, I've always been a storyteller pretty much my whole life. I've always loved movies and, watching them as a really little kid and then telling stories. I used to draw comic books, actually, in elementary school, and I actually, printed them and sold them in school. And then when I was 9 years old, I wanted to make a film, video, whatever, because at the time, Camden Praisner, he's been in all my Nerf videos. He was babysat at my house. So my grandma babysat both of us growing up. And so every morning he was over, for a couple hours before we would go to school. So I was just like, hey, Camden, I want to make a movie. You want to be in it? And he's like, sure. So, 9 years old, I made my first film, Ghost, which was a little horror movie. And of course it was horror because I'm a horror guy. So after that, I just kind of kept making videos, and I used to burn them on DVDs because I didn't know what YouTube was. I think that was 2006. So YouTube was still pretty new then. So it wasn't like a household name exactly. I used to burn them on DVDs. And then when I was 10, my parents showed me what YouTube was, and they got me a Mac that came with iMovie, and they're like, hey, you can actually edit these videos now and you can post them online. And I was like, oh, perfect. So I just started doing that. And, I used to watch Lego stop motion videos and all of that on YouTube. And then I started getting into watching Nerf videos and Nerf wars and stuff like that. And that slowly came in where I was already collecting Nerf guns. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I want to try and make my own Nerf video. So made Candy Bar, and then that's where it was like, okay, YouTube is now going to be like a thing that I'm going to stick with for a while. And just through that, I also had an acting career for a while at the same age, basically. But while I was making my own videos and while I was acting, I really realized like film, movies, this is really what I want to do with my life. I knew it at a pretty young age. I never really questioned it. I never really had another career path that I was like, oh, well, maybe I want to do music or teach or whatever. It really was just always films, and YouTube was just the perfect place for me to kind of discover that and, just upload my stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And then in high school, I was the film guy. I knew I was going to move across the country and go to film school and all that. So it's just kind of how it went, pretty much.
Well, that's very cool. So the next question is, how's it been from going from working on Nerf War videos to actual short films? How has that transition happened for you, and how's that gone for you?
Yeah, so definitely that was definitely a bumpy road for me because I started out making Nerf videos. That's what my YouTube channel became known for, and then slowly I wanted to kind of expand to different stuff because even with the Nerf videos, I wanted to tell more serious stories with it. I know Nerf War Infiltration was the first time I was like, all right, I'm going to try and take this more seriously. And then Nerf Gun Zombie Apocalypse, I wanted to do a whole movie. But I remember at that age, I started running into this problem where my films or my videos, my stories, whatever, they always kind of took a backseat. All that people saw was the Nerf. As long as it was Nerf, that's what made it work. And as I was getting older and going into high school and stuff, I was like, I don't, Nerf isn't really what I want to do the rest of my life. And, I'm getting tired of it, and I want to actually make my own films. And I know that in high school then, for senior year, I realized I needed to just make actual films, fully take it seriously. It's no longer a Nerf video, it's a film. So Knock Knock was my first legit short film that I made. And of course it was horror because I was like, well, I guess I'll do a horror film. So I did that. And then just, because it was very tricky having a YouTube channel and having an audience at a young age. And then it was this thing where I was like, I don't want to, make other films and stuff and constantly have these questions. Well, what about the Nerf videos? Where are the Nerf videos? That's why we subscribe. So I told my audience, this is going to be it. I'm moving off to college. I'm going to make 2 final Nerf videos. I'm not just going to let it fizz away. I want to end it strong. So made the final 2 Nerf videos. Didn't exactly work because I still get comments every day asking where are the Nerf videos. I'm sure I'll be 80 years old and there will be a 10-year-old who, if YouTube's even around then. but yeah, and so I needed to emotionally let go of the Nerf, essentially, to then move on to making my own films, and then, of course, doing all that in college and stuff. And that was really the wacky thing, where like action now, I can't do action anymore. That's all that Nerf really was action. And in the real world, you don't have a backyard or a house. You don't have other kids who can just run all over the place and get hurt without having a lawsuit or whatever. Like, you actually have to take things seriously. So action, unfortunately, is taking a backseat. But I hope someday I will actually get to make action films, and longtime Nerf fans will see the kernels and inspiration of like, oh, my filmmaking with those Nerf videos kind of carried over, especially in the sword fighting stuff. That'll definitely, someday I'd like to do it.
Well, absolutely, and I hope you can do that. So I want to ask you, what's your favorite genre of film and why?
Horror. Yeah. I love horror films. Oh my God. Because horror is so much fun because it demands a reaction out of you as a viewer. Like fear is such a primal thing. And I find it fun where like there aren't many genres of films that people shy away from as much as horror, in my opinion. Like when everyone has that one friend or, their mom or whoever is like, I don't want to see it, it's too scary, like people are afraid to get scared. Like no one's afraid to go watch a comedy because it's too funny. Yeah. No one's afraid to go watch an action movie because it's too actiony. There are too many explosions. Even there's some people who love, I know, like chick flicks and stuff, they love watching romance movies because that's so emotional, or dramas, bawl your eyes out. I know when I first saw Forrest Gump, that movie made me bawl my eyes out, and it's like, that's powerful. But horror, there are people who are afraid of it, and that's something I love tapping into, where it's almost like a challenge. Like, I want to see how much I can freak people out and really kind of get into their head. It's just always been a thing that I've loved, even from a young age. I don't know, it's just fun.
Well, I can understand that. I'm not as big into horror as you, but I have always enjoyed classic horror movies like Alien and Predator, like those kind of. I love always like sci-fi horror, so I can understand that. Love the idea of psychological horror too, breaking down thrillers. I can understand that. You are right. A lot of people get very nervous, and they don't really know. It's uncomfortable, and that's fine. They don't like being uncomfortable, but that's also what makes horror fans so great, because they like being uncomfortable. They like going and
exactly. Like people are like, wait, like that adrenaline, because it's adrenaline, really, and I love that, because I don't know, like if a movie can get a strong reaction out of me that really like sinks in, that's powerful to me, and I love that feeling. What about The Thing? To me, that's the ultimate.
Yes, John. If you bring out John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah.
That is the
sci-fi horror.
That is like the ultimate like horror movie experience. And so anyone in the
paranoia.
Paranoia. If you've never actually sat down and watched John Carpenter's The Thing, well, one, you're missing out on a very extreme psychological and paranoia horror film, but also it's a very gory movie. Like, spoiler warning, it is gory, but the special effects are all practical. It was done in time before films could use CGI that depicts it in post. So
it is amazing. It is fantastic.
Yes. All right. So my next question for you: what has been your most favorite film you've worked on to date, of your own films?
Well, I'm sort of in a renaissance period because I'm making these horror films now. So Sweet Dreams is my most recent film experience, and probably the most special to me because it was my first solo film that I made since Don't Look Away in 2017. So it had been 4 years. And Sweet Dreams for me was the first time I was fully out on my own. I was out of college. I'm no longer a student. And I looked at it like, all right, I'm going to take this fully seriously. It's no longer, this is a student film. Like, it is indie filmmaking now, full force. There's no excuse. So that was really awesome. It was terrifying because I hadn't done it in a long time, and I was, there's a lot of self-doubt in my head that I don't know if I can pull this off. I don't know if I'm a good director anymore. But it worked out very well. I had great the great crew. Everyone who came aboard just was fantastic. Like they were the reason I was able to do it, because everyone kind of believed in me and I believed in them, and everyone just worked together really well. And I just felt that fire again that I hadn't felt in a very long time. And I'm very excited with my next horror film. Now that I know I can do it, I'm very excited for this next experience. I feel like it's probably going to be my best film experience, because I feel like I'm on fire again.
Good. And can I ask you, can we get a title? Do you have a working title we can hear for the audience?
The working title for my next horror film is We're Not Safe Here.
Oh, sounds spooky.
Yes, it's. I'm actually announcing it in a video that's literally going to be published tomorrow. So I think I'll beat you to it, but
yeah, you probably will on that. So actually, ties into my next question. What's been the most difficult film you've worked on in your career so far, and the most challenging thing you've dealt with in your film career?
Oh boy. Okay. There are different like levels of difficulty because on one hand there's like, oh, that was like a challenge, just like we had to do a lot and there was a lot of obstacles that got in our way. And then there are other films where arguably it wasn't necessarily there were a lot of obstacles. It was just more of that self-doubt was really sinking into me. And I personally had a difficult time making it. So for the former, the first option, it was probably Panic Episode 4 was a pain in the ass to make. That one, Keaton and I, Keaton, of course, the other half of Panic, we both made that series together. Panic Episode 4 was a big challenge. A lot of problems happened. We had to reshoot a lot of it because of certain mistakes that happened. So that one was sort of this thing where it's like, oh my God, we keep running into problems and this is just such a challenge. It's frustrating as hell to make. So we have like, that episode kind of is like bad blood for us. We don't really like it a whole lot for that reason. I know that making Don't Look Away was very big personal challenge for me. I remember because that was my final film for the Directing 3 class. So the college that I went to, there was Directing 1, Directing 2, Directing 3, and that was the final directing class. And in Directing 3, you had to make a film every week. And there was always a new prompt. So week 2 was a one-shot film, which ended up being Break-In. And Don't Look Away was my final film, and I got a couple weeks to make that. And I know before I made that one, I wanted to kind of prep for it. And I had the idea earlier on, but I knew I wanted that to be my final project. So that's why I made Don't Look. Mm-hmm. I kind of was given that idea a sort of taste, and that's why like those films are sort of tied together, but not really. But yeah, Don't Look Away. Going into that one, the self-doubt was at the top. It was the final project, and by that point I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired of making these films every week. A lot of them sucked. A lot of them were bad. I was roasted a lot. I was like, oh God. And I know that when I was there at the house, we had like a call time and everyone was late. But like it was like 10 minutes after the call time, early in the morning, and I'm pacing around and I'm like texting him like, hey, like texting my DP like, hey, are you almost here? And I wasn't getting responses, and I was just pacing, just like thinking like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel lost. We're going to be late. Oh my God. Like it all came crashing down, and I was basically just having a full panic attack, just walking around up there. And then finally when, people arrived and we started shooting and stuff, but that never really left. I just kind of felt like clueless, I guess. So that was really bad. And then the worst film experience I've had so far, and I hate this film, was The Interrogation. That was my Directing 1 final. That film was bad. It did not turn out how I wanted. Don't Look Away at least turned out well. Like it was like, oh, I like this film. Yes. The Interrogation sucked. The whole time there was sort of like this vibe on set that a lot of it was like a bunch of bros and they were all kind of joking around and stuff. And I was like the youngest there. Mm-hmm. And I just became overwhelmed with this feeling that they didn't care. And I don't really necessarily know if that's true. This is years ago, but that's how I felt. And as like a newbie, I'm 18 and I'm trying to get all these like 25-year-olds to work with me. I was terrified. And suddenly I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And that was another set where I had a full meltdown. So that film sucked. I hated it. I don't like, it's just, sometimes you just have a bad go, things don't work out.
Absolutely. Every once in a while you're going to have challenges and, and like anybody starting out, especially at your age, you're a lot younger. A lot of guys, they go to college and you have a whole career. You're being independent. You're doing it by yourself. So especially anything you do the first time is always going to be nervous. I can speak from experience from my own film career, working on short films and productions. And working with people that are twice my age at the time, it was terrifying. I was just like, holy crap, what am I doing? So I completely understand the feeling of you feel like you're over your head in material, and you're just like, what am I supposed to do? But that's the beauty of working on any film, is that you learning opportunities to advance forward and, take the challenges and turn them to strengths and into your toolbox of tools to use for your film career.
Yes, yeah. You're always going to go into your next film with the most knowledge that you have yet. So, whatever went wrong, that's just a learning, lesson that then you take into the next one. So, you just got to keep moving.
Absolutely. So, alrighty. So, final question for you. How long do you plan on filmmaking for the rest? Do you plan on doing for the rest of your life, or do you plan on just doing for a couple of years? Like, what is your plans?
That's what I'm going to do. I really don't know what else I would do with my life. Right now, I really want to build this horror film, career, I guess. I basically am trying to rebrand my YouTube channel to finally give it a brand, because for a while it was Nerf, and then it's really just been me, but I feel like my audience is very stagnant. There's all kinds of different groups, and I want horror to be the next thing that people know me for. Mm-hmm. So I really want to build that up. The goal is to have it be a full-time job. Like, I would love if I can just make several horror shorts a year and work off of that and really just hone in my craft and build, eventually build up to making my own production company and then making full-length features. At the same time, Keaton and I are trying to get Panic turned into a full-blown TV show, which is sort of a whole other avenue. I would love to have that as a TV show. I'd love to do that. Make my own TV shows in the future. It's just, no matter what, it's going to be film. I really don't know what else I would do. If anything, I could see myself working with video games as like another thing, or music maybe, but no matter what, it's all going to be around film. That's really what it's going to be.
Actually, I have another question for you. Your series Panic is a comedy series. What has that been like working on a comedy series versus horror? Because your favorite's horror, but what is it like for working on a comedy series?
Yeah, well, because I had a lot of comedy stuff going on in my Nerf videos. Like, I feel like I've always done that. And it's sort of funny because, like, I feel like people who don't watch horror, they sort of have this expectation of a horror movie fan where, like, you look at a goth person or an emo person, you think they probably watch horror. Like, I am very, jovial and outgoing and, like, nerdy and energetic and comedic. So it's like, comedy to me is just like, I just look at the world and think of funny things. I don't know, I don't know. My brain just goes to making jokes all the time. So comedy kind of just comes naturally for me, I guess. Mm-hmm. But then I love horror. I don't know. But making Panic, for me, it wasn't necessarily the comedy aspect. It was the romance aspect that was completely new to me. I never watched romance movies growing up. I didn't give a shit. I was like, this chick flicks. I don't care. I want to watch horror movies. I want to watch action movies. So doing that for the first time was pretty wild. But really, I feel like while I was making Panic, I really realized, like, I care just about story and character. As long as there is, powerful emotional stakes and a great character arc and a very interesting story where things are unexpected, things are tense, and I go on this journey. It doesn't matter what genre it is. No matter what, I want to give my audience something to think about and get a big emotional reaction out of them. And that's what I set out with Panic. Whether it was making them laugh or making them cry or anything. So
that's very cool. And I can speak from experience with filmmaking. It's important. I don't care what kind of storytelling. You can have a really low budget or low production values, but you have a good story, people will love it. And anybody,
yes.
Exactly. And that's something about horror movies. Why I think actually horror and comedy go hand in hand actually a lot of times, is because you can characters go on a character arc, and then in the morbid sense, you can laugh at a morbid situation. It's in the later Friday the 13th movies, are really comedic in what they depict.
Oh yeah.
And so
they become so cheesy and self-aware.
Exactly. So again, there's a lot of those things where people, a lot of people miss out when they don't, expand their comfort zone or go out and try new things. And I would really, to anybody in the audience, if you're not into horror movies, there's plenty of horror movies out there that aren't even, like scary. They're more funny, but finding the right genre mood to watch is very important. I think it's important for storytelling that you actually go out and experience these things.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, sir, it was a pleasure to do this interview. Thank you so much. And for everybody that's here on the audience, please remember to subscribe to Christopher's channel. Stay tuned for all his films. He's worked really hard. He's a great film prodigy, up and coming director. So please support his films. Thank you so much for being here again, sir. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.